Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to the 2008 Cleveland Browns Bash. I'm your host, AJ, here with the Week 9 edition of the show. Before I get into our game with the Baltimore Ravens, which is now huge, because as I said last week, a win against Jacksonville would make this game gigantic. Get into that in a moment. First, our game against Jacksonville, we won 23-17, as I previously stated. The win was gigantic, and what I really loved about the win was that Jacksonville needed this game more than we did. Now, well, on certain views, I mean, things are slipping away from Jacksonville. Things are slipping away from us, and we've started to get things back together. But Jacksonville was at home. You know, they started stretch against us, the Bengals and the Lions, and obviously they were hoping to sweep that. And it was a big game for them at home. We came in. I thought, despite most of the stats on paper, I thought we dominated the game. But the game. It was 23-17. It was a very close game. I'm just happy that we escaped with a win. I thought we could have won better than the 6-point margin, but the facts are the facts, and I'll take the victory at this point. Shaun Rogers was just a beast. 9 tackles, a blocked field goal, which was possibly the game saver, because at the end, Jacksonville was going for a touchdown from the 26-yard line. Instead of that, they would have been probably kicking a field goal, possibly tying up the game and going to overtime. So Shaun Rogers' blocked field goal was just gigantic. There were some things that disappointed me. We were still kind of inconsistent. There was Derek Anderson and Lawrence Vickers collided in the backfield before a handoff, which was a little disappointing. There was a play where Derek Anderson avoided a sack but then overthrew I forget who it was, but it was a wide open man in the end zone. In fact, it might have been Vickers again. But those were some disappointing plays. However, there were some great plays. There were huge plays to Hayden and Steptoe and Edwards, and Jamal Lewis had a great game. The defense, for the most part, played a great game. I was talking about stopping Maurice Jones-Drew. We held him to only 29 yards. Now, we let Garrard run a little bit over us. That was a little disappointing. And also, we only went 3 for 12 on third down, something I was talking about last week that we need to work on. But other than that, it was really, to me, positive. Last thing I want to talk about is that bobble. The second to last play of the game, Matt Jones almost had a touchdown pretty much 3 different times on the same play, and it just got bobbled around. I just about had a heart attack, and I'm sure most of you guys did as well, Browns fans out there, but we ended up holding on to the 23-17 victory. So, we're now 3-4. We're in the picture. We need to really climb to give ourselves a chance by beating Baltimore, but we're back in the picture now. We're in the thick of things. Now, to get started into the Baltimore game, we had 0 turnovers against Jaguars, and we only had 1 penalty, which is just great if you look at the early season, the first quarter of the season numbers for those stats. And if you remember right, back in Week 3 against the Ravens, we had those huge interceptions that set up Baltimore scores. We need to limit turnovers. So my main thing against the Ravens is to protect the football. Now, getting us the main keys, now that is just like the total theme, protect the football, because we saw what happens when we don't against the Ravens with the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL. So, my keys. Bring the A game, okay? The Baltimore Ravens stand 1 game ahead of us, all right? They're 1 game ahead. They do have the tiebreaker, but, okay, in a tightly contested AFC playoff race, if we win, we will even the season series at 1 apiece, and we will each be 4-4, okay? Now, that is huge, because a loss would put us 2 games behind, and Baltimore would have the tiebreaker, okay? Now, that's virtually, you know, the end of our playoff chances. I mean, you know, it's very, very bleak, but I really believe if we lose this game, I called last week a must-win, I'm calling this week a must-win for our playoff chances. We just have to be prepared to bring our best game to this contest. Another thing is to be ready for the 2-quarterback offense. Last week, the Ravens experimented with Joe Flacco and Troy Smith on the field at the same time. It was pretty successful. They had 5 plays in which they used both quarterbacks, and those 5 plays combined for a total of 65 yards. We have to practice a scheme that will cover that. One thing I thought about is maybe we can use an outside linebacker to jam the quarterback at the line when we see one of them running out into a slot position. And if that doesn't disrupt the play, you know, make sure we have either Mike Adams or Brodney Poole out there to track him. But maybe my thought was jamming him with a big body at the line. Either way, we have to have something prepared to stop that. And my third key is to get creative on offense, which is pretty much the opposite, because Baltimore, they're getting creative. We need to get creative for ourselves because they have the number 2 ranked defense. We are not going to do too much against them unless we get creative. The previous meeting between the Browns and Ravens, we racked up only 169 yards of offense. Derek Anderson went 14 for 37 for 125 yards and a quarterback rating of 22.9. This time around, we have to be more innovative. Doing the same old thing is not going to work. Some things I thought about, just use Joshua Cribbs more. I mean, use his ability, maybe some reverses where he throws the football. Even have maybe Derek Anderson line up where Joshua Cribbs gets the snap. And another thing I thought about is giving the Ravens a taste of their own medicine, putting Brady Quinn and Derek Anderson out on the field at the same time. I don't think we'll see that, but that's just something crazy that you just never know. I don't think Romeo Crennel will do that though, because I think he'd be afraid of Brady Quinn looking good. And then next time Derek Anderson has a bad game, there's even a stronger outcry for Brady Quinn. But it's just something to think about. Either way, we have to be clever with our offensive calls, especially, like I said, against the Ravens defense. So recap the keys really fast. Protect the football. Bring our A game for this gigantic game. Try to stop their, be ready for the 2 quarterback offense and any other surprises that Cam Cameron has. And also try to get creative for ourselves against a really tough defense. So note some numbers. The Browns trail the all-time series against the Ravens 7-12. A win would tie Cleveland Baltimore with records of 4-4 on the season, as I said. Just a huge game. One of my random stats I brought up last week is our records on a certain date. I figured I'd do it again this week just because it's actually kind of interesting. Cleveland is 2-3 all-time on games during games played on November 2nd. And also, as I said, Mike Adams, I mentioned him. Also, Mike Adams and Sean Smith should return to practice with limited time this week, which is good news. Hopefully they will get to play. Now my pick is a little weird. It's Cleveland by 3, and you might wonder why I picked Cleveland when last time I picked the Browns against the Ravens and we got spanked 28-10. Why am I getting behind Cleveland this time? Well, there's 3 big reasons. The first is that we've played tough competition the last 3 weeks. The Giants, the Redskins, and the Jaguars. We've come away from those games 2-1, with our loss being by 3 points. And the second reason is that we protected the football in those games. We have no turnovers. We have 4th down turnovers, but we have no interceptions and no lost fumbles in those 3 games. So we've been protecting the football, which is a good sign, and that's against some tough defenses like New York and Washington. And lastly, which is really the main reason, this is just an enormous game for the Browns. I'm basically getting behind the team. This is a move, a show of faith, getting behind the team for this gigantic game against a huge division rival. I'm just hoping that our good side shows up of this 2-sided Browns team that we've seen this season. Like I said, it's really an act of faith. The other 2 reasons are definitely reasons why I'm picking the Browns, but I'm only picking us by 3, and the Ravens have a good team too. So the main reason, like I said, it was a really tough decision, and since I haven't picked the Browns since week 4 against the Bengals, I figured, I'm going to just throw my faith behind this team who has played some good football as of late. So we'll see what happens. There you go. There's my line, and it's going to be interesting. Go Browns at home against Baltimore Ravens, and I'll see you guys next week with a recap of that game and a preview of our Thursday night home game against the Denver Broncos. So obviously I'll be with you guys a little earlier next week than I normally am. All right, go Browns. See you guys next week.